That's one method. All right. So that's one method. The second method that we have is that you can download and install a client or software package onto your machine. They have this available for Windows systems and for Mac systems. And then they also have a mobile application. And the mobile application is very good for notifications and receiving those quick things. We'll talk about how all of that works together and how Teams does notify you if you've missed a message or a meeting or something, that those will pop up on your screen and how it's all synchronized. But you can get those for the iOS, for any iOS device, so iPhones, and then you can also get it for Android devices through the Google Play Store. And these are the resources, and I'm hopeful, and Jennifer and Ms. Tammy can correct me. I think that we can send these links out to you afterwards, but these are the resources that I use to go through and create the presentation that we're going through today. So first, I think it kicked off my share screen again. Let me try this again. Go back to Zoom. Okay, so now I'm going to open. Now I'm using a Google Chrome browser, but I'm on a Mac. So you can also use Safari, but I would suggest everyone go to portal.office365.com. And when we go through this, this is actually a USM license. Our license is the Office 365 A1 for faculty. So that's just the name of the license. It's configured a little bit differently if you're with a different organization, because you can choose to have a different license. And it's also dependent, some of the things and features that we're going to talk about are also dependent on how your systems administration has configured your license to allow you to use Teams. So in Office 365, there is a grid in the top left corner, and then you also have a navigation on the left-hand side. My Teams, because I use it so often, shows up on the left-hand side, and also shows up, if I click on that grid button, it shows up in my favorites area of my apps. So these apps are just ones that I regularly visit or I regularly use. If you cannot see Teams in that list, simply click on All Apps, and that will bring you to the listing of all of the various Microsoft applications that you can use. We're going to stick to the web version today so that anyone can get on. If you want to follow along in this method, you can also, once we click into Teams, you can follow inside the application if that's easier for you. But right now, I'm just going to click on my Teams link. And it may ask you to log in beforehand. Just go ahead and go through the login. It's fine. All right. So Microsoft Teams has this general layout. I am going to actually start in the Teams section. So if you'll click on that link, on the left-hand side, we have our navigation. So we're going to stick into the Teams section for now. Now this listing is I'm a member of a lot of different teams. Several of these are based off of Office 365 groups. So in the USM environment, what we actually prefer for you to do is to create an Office 365 group first and then create a team after. So since we have so many USM folks, I'm going to go ahead and step through that and just to show how it works. I'm going to go back into the portal page again, and then I'm going to use Outlook. It's right here on my navigation. Again, I can click on the grid to get to it. In Outlook, on the left-hand side, you'll have your navigation pane, and in this section, you will actually have groups further down. If you're like me, I have a lot of different folders and things that pop up. So you might need to collapse that down or use the little scroll bar to get down here to the bottom. When you create a group for, and this is specifically for USM, when you create a group in Office 365, then you're creating an email account and a SharePoint site and a calendar. So you get a lot of features by creating that group first. And that email account is one of the specific things that we have it configured. You can only get it if you start the team off of the group. So start with the group first and then create your team. All you would do was click new group, and then it's gonna ask you some various features. Now my default setting is private. And when I create a group, what that means is I have to, when you create a group, you become the owner, and I have to allow people to enter into my group. If it's a public group, it's open to anyone and anyone can join. But as a private group, then I control who is a member of the group and who is not. So if you would like to, you can put testing in your name. You automatically get an email account set up, and then I'm going to leave it as private for myself, and then I'm just going to click create. And that's as simple as it is. If I want to add members, you're prompted here inside this group's window pop-up. If you do not have that pop-up, it's not that big of a deal. You'll simply click on the group in your navigation, and you can use it just like you would the Outlook client. You can right-click on it and get some more options through that little quick menu. But I'm going to add Valerie. She said I could pick on her today. So I'm going to add Valerie and just click add. So now she's a member of my new group. It automatically creates the email account, brought me into it. And then when I go into the team to create the team, I'm going to use this group to create the team. But I'm also going to show you how to do it straight from Teams for those people who are not on this particular license. If I forget at some point and I want to do more with the group, you can click on that group, you can right-click that group, and there's more options here. You can choose more to look at this. You also have a manage groups down here, so you can manage your members and delete your groups, move people around from a member to an owner. An owner is the person who can add other members. A member just simply has access to the group. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close that. And I'm going to go back to my Teams window. So in the top right-hand side of my Teams, I have these three menu options. And let me say this about Microsoft. I do like that Microsoft gives you options, a lot of different options. However, sometimes it can be overwhelming because they're going to give you multiple ways to navigate to that same option. In this case, you have three dots that are part of your team. So you can click through those particular settings. You have a little hamburger menu here that gives you some sorting settings. You have a system that allows you to get to manage teams. And then you have your join or create team button. So what we're going to do is join or create a team right now. And you simply click on the create team button here, and then you can select your type. And I had a question in the last training session where someone asked me what the difference between the types were. For our license, other staff and professional learning community are pretty much the same. They're going to give you the same options. I always choose staff just because that's where I live in the university. I'm a staff member, not a faculty member. I will say that once I looked up and did some research on it, the class type, and I think the professional learning community might have a couple of different options, but the class type specifically gives you some tasks and assignments tabs and capabilities that the others don't. So if you're going to use that as a faculty member, then I would definitely encourage you to choose class because it just gives you more stuff to play with. And I like playing with software. So anyway, I'm just going to click on staff. Now at this point, I have multiple options. If I want to create the team from scratch, and if you're outside of USM, this should work without any problems for you to create your team, to get that SharePoint site, that email address, and the calendar and everything that we talked about before. If you are part of the university, though, like I said, you need to have that group set up first, and then you will be able to create the team by using an existing group. Those options are provided for us at the bottom, but I just put my name in it just so we have it, and I can know to delete it later after training. Anyway, so I have the team here, the team name. You can say a little bit of a description. If you're public, I definitely encourage a description so that when people find it in a list, they can click on it and then it appears for them. They can find out a little bit more about what your group is about. Here you can also choose private and public. It's the same thing as before. So private, only team members or team owners can add members. In public, anyone in the organization can join. So for my uses, because I'm IT and I typically use this for a type of distribution type of list, then I'm going to stick with private. Also in here, you can use an existing team as a template. What that allows you to do is the options and the things that you've selected for another team, you can apply to your new team. In this case, because I'm Office 365 at USM, I'm going to create a team using a group. So I have this group. It shows my different lists, and here's the one I just created. So I'm going to choose that group, and then it will create the team. All right, so here we are inside the team. It has created the logo, which you can change. You can change your colors, set colors, and that type of thing. But when you mouse over the little logo button on the left side, it gives you the edits, the little pencil edit. So they have a lot of different things that you can choose from. You can pick up and upload your own little icon if you want to. I'm going to choose cancel and just go with the default for now. But here we are. This is the list of channels. This is the name of the team. If I want to do some more, if I click on those three dots, always click on the three dots because Microsoft hides things. Click on the three dots and find that quick menu, that pop-up menu. It gives me access to some various things. So I can manage, I can add channels, I can work on members, leave, edit, all of these types of things. And then delete is at the bottom. I want to say this another, also when you're in your, let me go back to this, to all teams. Some of my teams here don't have the delete button, and that's just a configuration. So some of them, I'm the member of these teams, and then if I'm the owner, let me go back again, I'm sorry. It's the same menu. It has the delete team here. So sometimes your menu options change based on where you are and what security permissions you have for that particular team. So I'm going to go back into it just so you guys can see. All right. So posts, this has to do with channels, and we're going to get to that next. And then we have files, which you can click on. And then you can also click on your staff notebook. Staff Notebook is connected to OneNote, and you can actually sign into OneNote from your browser. It's one of those options in the grid. So one of those apps, you can choose OneNote. And so you can get to that from a different location. My menu's not going away. Hang on just a second. Trying to see if I locked up my browser. Sorry, tech issues.
So if you were to click that link that said set up a OneNote staff notebook, it would just give you an option to create a notebook, but it wouldn't allow you to be in that, right? Like you'd have to go somewhere else to sign into
No,
it.
it opens here inside of Microsoft Teams. You do stay within the Teams application, but I'll go ahead and click on it so you can see. Actually, you know what? I should probably use our app support. We use it constantly. So we have a notebook here. I'm going to click there. Come on. It is giving me fits. I'm sorry, guys. All right. Let me refresh this. Okay. Okay, it's taking it quite a little minute. There we go. Now I can see shadows. Yay, okay. All right, so as you can see, what it does is it embeds it. It's called embedding when it does it through the website. So OneNote, you have all the same options that you would in the OneNote application, but it's embedded inside the Teams space and the Teams area. You can use fonts and things just like you would for a regular document. We literally use this all the time. It's just not working in app support for me for some reason. I typically use the desktop application versus the browser, the web application, just because I like the efficiency of it better. And I like to be able to use my browser for other things to collaborate or look up other things while I'm on meetings. So anyway, but the OneNote staff notebook, it's just something we use it actually for a status update, and it allows you and stores it inside your team space inside SharePoint so that everyone can get to it and everyone that is on the team can edit it. All right. Are there any more questions about this section? Okay. Any questions about creating a team?
I had one right before you went into the actual notebook itself. You clicked on blank, and then it brought up collaboration space and content.
Uh-huh.
At that point, did you click anything else, or did it just populate?
Oh, I just clicked next and it just populated. There was a next button down here at the bottom right. I don't know if you could see that. My little Zoom thing might have been in the way, but there was a next button on the bottom, and it I just clicked next, and then it populated this information in here.
Thanks.
So I really would like to show you the app support one if I could get it to come up. No, it's really not liking it. Might have mobile might be a good one too. Yeah. So my mobile app team is working. So basically it's just a, this one is actually an older one. We haven't been using this notebook, but you can still see that, you know, it is OneNote, it's embedded, and it's part of the team itself, which is important. We'll talk about that more. Okay. All right. Well, we'll keep moving on. All right. So we're going to talk about chat and communication and channels. All of that held within Teams. Is Microsoft created this space really to hold persistent chat. And what that means is when someone becomes a member of the team, then that chat doesn't automatically disappear or go away. They can actually get the history of the chat that you've had for that team. And that's done through channels. So I'll go back to app support. All right. And I'm going to lower my little Zoom thing down. Okay. So here inside of your team, when you create that new team, you automatically get what's called a general channel. And the general channel is everyone who's a member of the team or part of the team can have access to that particular channel. Once they're added, so for example, we have one that says Jason Harris, welcome to our team today. I think we had a mix up, but he was pushed off of the team and then brought back in. But a new member can go back through and see these old conversations that you've had before. And in some cases, that can be very helpful. Some people don't like it, some people love it. But just know that you can create a channel to discuss with anybody that's on the team. And it stays, that history stays. That's one of the features of persistent chat. Other chat things like, oh, I don't know. I used to use Slack and Skype and some other chat types of applications. Those don't necessarily use persistent chat. So there's no history necessarily whenever you're using that. Once it's gone and that has disappeared or that person is gone, then that chat is gone and nobody can really review the history. So this is considered a feature of Microsoft. One of the things though, and when Teams was created, is they discuss how it was geared towards very large organization teams. So, I mean, people with like 100 members on the team or 50 members, you know, some very large numbers of team members. If you have that type of a group where you have that large, you may not want every single person to see or talk about everything that you're doing. Or there may only be 5 of you from a very large team that are actually working on a project. So what you can do is you can create sub-channels and you can create private channels that are specific to those members. So I'm going to actually, so I can play in it, I'm going to go back to my testing team. And over here in the menu, we have that add channel button. So go ahead and click on that. Now here is where you can set that, where you want a standard channel or you want a private channel. So I'm going to choose private, and or we're going to call it new project. Okay. And then I'm going to click next. And Valerie's my only member, so I'm going to pick her and choose add, and then done. So if I had 10 members on the team, I get this new little channel that has an icon, that's a lock icon, shows it's just for specific members, and there's my new conversation, my new channel for me to communicate specific with Valerie. I can also upload files through the Files tab to the channel. So this is backed by SharePoint and OneDrive, but we're going to talk about SharePoint first. So when I choose open in SharePoint, I have that option here, and I can also upload from my computer a file or folder, and all of that shows up in this particular area. And so if later on I don't want to look through a stream of chats in order to find the file, I can simply go, because I have this open in SharePoint, it's backed by SharePoint. I can go to my team. Let me go back and go to my SharePoint site. See, this one doesn't have it already up. We have it already up in the other one. It's just giving me fits today. It can't connect. All right. It's being difficult. Let me go back to my other team. All right. So when Microsoft is not being temperamental, then you have a SharePoint tab, or you can add that tab to your link. So if you have a document that's shared within the chat, within the posting area, then you can go to SharePoint to later find that document. So those are uploaded specifically for that group. Then if you wanted your private documents, we don't really have that here, but you could still find that document through the SharePoint area in order for you to access that a different way. That is the basics of communication via channels. There's a difference between channels, and chat. So chat is specific to you and your entire organization. So I have used Teams for quite a while, so I have a lot of chat windows, and I have several people that I've talked to. Marion's on the list, I believe, Vanna. So lots of people that I've worked with, but they're not necessarily members of my team. So if I just want to talk to someone, I can come up here and click on this little square that looks like it has a pencil, and I can start a new conversation or a new chat. Since Marion is part of my organization and in my global address book, then her name is automatically going to populate. So I can click that and I can choose to say hi. So these messages and these chats are specifically for people if you're doing more of a one-on-one conversation. If you're using something that the entire team needs to work with or talk to, then you should use the channel so that everyone on the team can have access to it, or keep it in your private channel if you're trying to collaborate on a project. It's really, your communication is based off of who you want to talk to. So if you want to talk to one person one-on-one, the chat, and then if you want to talk to the entire team, definitely keep it in the channels. And like I said, it's persistent, so that history is also given. One of the other things is, even if it's offline, a chat or a conversation, you will get a notification that someone is trying to contact you. So Marion responded to me and said, hello. If I was off doing something else, then I get a notification inside my Windows area or inside the browser, and on the mobile app, it comes across as a notification that someone is trying to contact me or have a conversation with me, and I need to respond. So our orientation groups here at USM actually use it a lot during those types of meetings. If they have a lot of changes or things, this chat and the channels gives them an opportunity to discuss how they can make those changes quickly and on the fly. Someone's at that door. I'm sorry, I have something going on in the background. When I have that loaded into the channels and that persistent chat, then the history is still there, and I want to make sure that you guys know that. Gosh, it's still saying reconnecting. Anyway, does anyone have any questions? Actually, let me mention one more thing and then I'll ask about questions. So when you're in the chat area here, if I wanted to add someone else to my conversation, there's an add people button. And I can also, we use this a lot too, make a phone call or a video call to that person. So sometimes, and I do this with our system administrators several times, they need to show me something specific about an application, or we're working through some type of issue. So what they'll say is, hey, can I give you a quick call to go over this? And when they do, then it works like a regular meeting, like this Zoom meeting, but it's inside Teams, and they can share their screen and we can collaborate and still maintain those copies of the files and maintain that history. One other thing is that if you're in a meeting and you record, you can actually see that particular icon on the navigation on the left-hand side. So it appears to the person and they can go back and click on that recording or that particular meeting. So if we communicate through chat during a meeting, it has this little icon over here on the left. If someone shares a file through that meeting, it shows up under this as well. If there's a recording, it shows up under this icon as well. So all of that is available to you from being a team member and just going through the regular Teams meetings facility, like implementing that application and using that. It's part of everyone's collaboration tools. So does anyone have any questions about this? I hope I didn't go through it too fast. I see a hand raised.
Yeah, someone has it. Mary Manor.
Uh-huh.
Mhm. I wanted to ask a question. Good afternoon. I wanted to ask a question. So sometimes if I'm in a Teams meeting and for whatever reason, I hit leave and all of a sudden my camera is still on like minutes, hours the next day after, just to figure it out. And so I had to find out that there's a sign out button in Teams that you could, I guess, just completely sign out of everything. Cause I turned my computer off, did this, turned it back on, and the camera was still on.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I've never had that happen. That kind of sounds like a one-off, like a glitch. Was that something that, did someone tell you to sign out, or did you just try and it worked?
I had to call the help desk, and so
Okay.
they were sharing with me that, yep, sometimes that happens, but you have to make sure, because I'm like, I'm surely I'm still not in a meeting. The camera's still on, this, that, and the other
Right.
stuff, unplugged everything. But they advise that you have to log out completely when that happens.
Well, let's talk about that then. This is my profile over here on the top right-hand side, and I have a sign out option down here at the bottom. So if you do have that problem, like Miss Mary had, then I would definitely suggest clicking that sign out and closing your browser completely in order to get out of that. But I've actually not had that happen to me. But I have to say again, do you use the application more or the web? Like, do you use the browser more?
The browser, yeah.
Yeah. See, and the last time I gave this presentation, I haven't had as many glitchy things, like that wonderful thing that keeps popping up, reconnecting. So I think, it might be something with the browser. Maybe it's having trouble today, or maybe it's having trouble on that specific day. But if you guys run into that problem, that's very good to know, though. If you guys run into that problem, just simply click on that and then choose the sign out and close your browser completely in order to get that to stop.
Yeah, Teresa, I was going to mention that we had that problem on several of the AOP meetings where,
Yeah.
I think one of us had scheduled it and we left the meeting, and we thought everybody else left, and some people left their cameras on, so we recorded like 30 minutes of cameras. Luckily, you couldn't see their screens, but it just had 30 minutes of whatever they were doing.
Wow.
And I could hear it, so I had to go edit the video.
Man, okay. So definitely, folks, that's a good lesson learned. I'm gonna write that down. Sign out. So we don't keep recording.
And I was using the desktop because I was a meeting coordinator when I left the meeting, but I was using the desktop version.
Really? Okay. I haven't had that happen to me on the desktop version. I wonder if it's also something to do with being the person who scheduled the meeting or not. Or I guess it would not be, because you said that happened with multiple people. So I'm thinking maybe even just attending the meeting.
Were you the scheduler, Mary, on yours? I was on ours.
No, I think I had just joined the meeting and it just locked up like that, and the camera was just on. So that afternoon I tried to power it down, this, that, and the other, turned it back on. It was still on. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on?
Yeah.
So I did call, and she said, you have to sign out completely. If you don't, whatever.
Definitely good to know that. I appreciate you guys mentioning that. Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, we'll move on then. All right, so the next thing that we want to talk about is scheduling meetings and making calls. So if you are in a meeting, I cannot get this Zoom window. I can't get it to where I'm happy with it. Okay. If you're in a meeting or you're creating a meeting, you're going to use this calendar tab here. So in your navigation, so go ahead and click on that. And I'm just going to schedule one for later. Let me mention this before I do that. You saw me just double click. That's just habit. That's what I do when I schedule a meeting. I find a time block and then I double click that in order to bring up that new meeting window. However, you can also click on this new meeting at the top right, and then you can also choose Meet Now. Meet Now is like the video phone call. So if I click on that, then I can automatically go into the meeting space. So I'm going to close that. And most of the time we're going to use it to schedule a new meeting. And then you get the new meeting details that you have to fill out. Microsoft Teams calendar, and this is a nice feature, is that it synchronizes with your Outlook calendar. So if you create a meeting on the calendar in Microsoft Teams, it's going to show up in your Outlook calendar. It's going to show and have that particular details that you've selected in the Outlook calendar as well. They also have, if you remember in Outlook, they have a scheduling assistant. So if you have like 5 or 6 different people that you're trying to get in touch with, or even 20, it's sometimes hard to find a time slot. So I really do like having the scheduling assistant. It will add attendees. It works the same way that it does in Outlook. So you have your added attendees down here at the bottom. Every row is their schedule. And then at the top is all of those combined. So I always pick on Valerie, so here we go. And Marion, because they always have a lot of meetings. But so if she's busy and unavailable, then it's going to show unavailable and busy at the top as well. And that's what you'll look for, is this top column to find the combined section. So I'm just going to move on over here to next week. So there's several spaces here. So if I was going to schedule something, then I would use that. Once you click on that particular area, you can move it back and forth to select your time frame. It automatically changes at the top for the details, and that will save into your meeting details. So when I click back on details, I've chosen March 8th from 1 to 2, and then if I go back to details, this remains populated for me. Then you can add a title for the meeting. You can add, if it's a repeating meeting, if it shows up multiple times on your calendar. If you have a particular team or particular channel, then you can add it to that team. And it just populates there. It's simply just part of the user interface. You can add your location, and then you can type out the details of the agenda. So once you've done all of that, you would click send, and that will send that request. It'll go into Outlook, and it'll go into their inbox, and it will send a request to them. I did have, for the demo today, let me move my little thing here. Actually, I'm going to open a new tab. You can have Teams meetings with people outside your organization. And I wanted to show you an email of what that actually looks like. So here. Dismiss these. Those are my little notifications popping up. Let me see if that's the best one. Okay, so this is what I sent out to someone outside of our organization. And then here they receive this label stating that it's a Microsoft Teams meeting. It looks very much like Zoom. They get a link to join the meeting, and then they also have other call-in instructions. So if you have someone that does not have Microsoft Teams, they will be prompted to follow through with all of that. And you don't have to worry about it. You can still use Microsoft Teams to hold and conduct your meeting. Okay. I'm just going to close and not, I'm going to discard that so I don't take up extra time. But the synchronization with the meetings is very, very nice with the Outlook. I'm going to go ahead and talk about calls, and then I'm going to do a call so that we can talk about that. So if you move on down and you go into calls, calls works a little bit differently. It's more impromptu. But if I click make a call, then again, this is my global address book. I also have people that I have on speed dial. These are people that are part of my immediate team that I've talked to a lot. They're from my contacts in Outlook, as well as people who were part of my immediate organization that I've spoken with a lot. I have contacts here. This is some of the folks that are in my contacts book. I have history, people I've talked to recently. And then of course you have voicemail here. USM, we use a different phone system. So I've never actually gotten voicemail into Teams. We get it through our email, so it doesn't come through Teams. However, other organizations that can be configured for your particular license. So in this case, if I click make a call, I have my list here and I'm gonna choose Valerie. And then I can make it a regular phone call or I can make it a video. That's what those two little icons are. So I'm gonna click call. She said I could do this. Oh, she's not answering. Marion, can I call you? Oh, wait, there she is. Yay. Thank you.
I apologize. I had too many windows.
Okay. All right.
Find you.
Had to find it. Okay. Well, so this is a regular call screen. And again, the three dots are there. That brings up that extra little settings and extra options. So always click on the three dots. Be curious and try to discover for yourself what you have available to you. But these are the various options. So I get this new little toolbar. So I can turn my camera on or off. I can mute myself. I can open the share tray, which is also sharing the screen like it is in Zoom. Then I can click the three dots, which gives me a little bit more. So these are about the video, the other person's video, and then your just regular call functionality to hold or transfer people or to consult or speak with the person you're transferring to. You can do all of that through Teams, and then you can also get a keypad and record from here. This is your chat window for your meeting, and it's what shows up under that separate little icon on the left, navigation in your chat, but you can look at those. And then you also have, if you want to look at the number of participants or who's participating or who's not, those are available here. If you are on a call and you find you need someone else, you can spontaneously invite someone else. But again, it uses your global address book, so that's how all of that does. Thanks, Valerie. I'm going to close this now. And you can feel free to answer their survey if you like. But so that's the basic functionality of the call. One of the things that I want to mention is that in the call settings and in the meeting settings, then you also have separate options. Those things that are hold, transfer call, all of that stuff is also different underneath the meetings. And two of the newest features that Teams has offered is the different backgrounds like we have in Zoom. You can separate that out, like do a backdrop, an image, or you can blur, and all of that's available to you. And then it also has live captioning available. Live captioning is as you're speaking, it writes a transcript of that meeting. So it retains that conversation for you. Then the regular features are recording the meeting and adding call-in numbers. And then you can add people as you go to meetings as well. So.
Miss Teresa, I'm sorry to apologize for interrupting.
No, interrupt. It's fine.
This is Tammy Johnson. I have one person said they had a hard time hearing. So I want to see if anybody else, make sure everyone else can hear you. It might be something with their volume on their end, or just checking, please. So is everybody hear clearly, hear well? Just nod your head or click on the reaction button. All right. Thank you. Sorry. Okay.
Oh, no, that's fine. I don't mind at all. So, Okay, so those are your basic features and functionality of your calls and your meetings, and the new features. The two newest ones, of course, are the backgrounds and then the live captions. So we wanted to definitely point those out. Anyone who's part of USM, we do have Cisco conferencing equipment available. So if you need to hold a Teams meeting inside a conference room, or like you would in a conference room with that type of equipment, you can do that. We just have to know about it at iTech ahead of time, and then we can get that help you set that up. So you would just put in a work order like normal. So does anyone have any questions about the calendar and the meetings and the calls?
On mine, I don't see where I have the option. I went to apps to try to add it, but all I saw was the WebEx calls.
Oh, so you don't have calls over on the left in the navigation?
I don't see it. And if I hit the three dots, I type in calls to search,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives me WebEx call, enhanced cloud calling.
What are you using, the web, like the app or the
I did the
portal?
portal like you did the first time.
Okay. I don't know. I'll have to look at that. Tell me you're at USM, so tell me your ID number.
303-873.
Okay. All right. We'll look at that after.
Okay.
But yeah, you should have that functionality. So
I know that I've joined a call
yeah.
with someone, but they were calling me. So
Okay. All right. I wonder how they did it. But all right. Well, we'll keep going on. I know we're approaching 3 o'clock. I'm going to try to get done here shortly. So I want to talk about files specifically and how SharePoint and OneDrive work for Microsoft Office 365. So when Teams was created, it was created specifically to work with SharePoint. And that's just one of the things that they mentioned in a lot of their online resources. So you get a SharePoint site, and the easiest way that my system administrator, Exchange admin, has said to remember it is that OneDrive is for the individual and SharePoint is for collaboration. So when you're using your OneDrive, it's specific to your user, your profile. Everything that you do inside of OneDrive and all of those files within OneDrive are just under your particular user data source. So, and your storage. Once if at USM, we have a policy that when you leave the university or you're no longer employed by the university, then you do lose access to your Office 365 license and your Office 365 account. So if you're storing something for your department or for your group or your organization and it's in your OneDrive, when you leave, that OneDrive goes away as well. That's important to remember because you want to make sure anything that you want to remain at the university or stay with the group or stay within that team needs to be stored within SharePoint. If you upload files, and Teams was integrated specifically with SharePoint, so if you upload into Teams, you're uploading into the SharePoint location. So over here on the right-hand side for a lot of my different files that I maintain or work with, they're part of that application support SharePoint site. And this is all within and held within our files. Once I go into the Teams and I want to look at that, then a lot of times I click on SharePoint, and then I can see all of these different areas. So we have uploaded all of our various documents, things, because we manage a lot of different applications. We have a folder for every application, and we have an area that we can go back in and remember how to do something later on and provide that for our team members. If we're out, they need to back us up. It just helps with the collaboration and communication between our members. One of the things that you can do is, if you're in your team, let me go back and see if it'll allow me to do that. I'll go into files. This upload button. Okay, so I can upload a file from my desktop, and it places it into the team itself. So now anyone who comes into the team can go to files and can see that. So that if I need to leave for whatever reason, I no longer work here, they still have access to that file. You can also, I'm hesitant to click on this, but I'm going to click the button. Let's see what it does. I knew it would do that because it's Microsoft being difficult. But anyway, if you want to go into here and look at your team and look at the various files that people have shared, then you should have a SharePoint link at the top where you can go in and see folders. So if you want to create a new something for a folder, then you just click on new, and that allows you to choose what it is. So this is just our organization. So we can click folder. Then you have an opportunity, just like in File Explorer, to name that folder and then click on that folder and then upload documents into that folder. So files is the same way. You still have the files that the team has shared, and those are located as part of your team in that, like I said, it's part of SharePoint and not OneDrive. And I'm trying to find, let me go back to SharePoint. I don't know if they want to add it through here or not. Well, let me do it there. No. Okay. So you can also, it's also integrated with the other apps that are part of Office 365. Let me try to go through here. Nope, it's not letting me. Okay. So, all right. I'm going to try to get that feature to work in just a minute. But the main thing that I want you to remember is that OneDrive is for yourself, and that SharePoint is for collaboration and for your entire team. When you want to interact with other Office 365 services, that's what this button down here and the apps button at the bottom is for. So this one, this three dots, like I said, don't be afraid to click on the three dots to find the extra menu and then be able to search. But this one allows you to search for other applications. And in some organizations, you can actually create your own customized applications. If you have done that, then you can search for that name in this box, and that will allow you to go out to the Office 365 portal and pull that custom app in. As part of USM, if you're going to use this and use a separate service, you're welcome to use it and you're welcome to do it. However, However, iTech doesn't necessarily support the application that you're pulling in. For example, there's some things out here that I can say off the top of my head, Jira Cloud and the wiki. Those are things that iTech doesn't necessarily know that much about. So we'll do our best to help you with whatever you're having trouble with. However, you're kind of on your own as far as pulling that in. But, you know, in managing that application once you've pulled it in. So I'm not trying to say don't do it ever, but because there are some really nice things, and you can also pull in things that other people outside of USM have created by using this search and then adding that app to Teams. So I'm not trying to discourage you from doing that. I'm just letting you know ahead of time, just trying to be clear that we don't necessarily know how to support it. So we'll do our best, but we may not be that much help. Also, you can click on the apps button down here at the bottom. Very same thing. You can search for the different apps and you can glance through what's available. So if I just click on a category, then here are the various things. And it's just from Microsoft's side. At the bottom as well, you also have the help button. And that just brings you out to the different training features or, you know, their support site. So you're welcome to use that as well and talk to Microsoft themselves if you would like to. All right, so does anyone have questions about that, the apps or the files themselves and how it interacts with OneDrive and SharePoint? Okay, since I'm not hearing anything, I'm going to go ahead. All right, so I see that it added my OneDrive here, so I'm able to access it through the Files tab. You're supposed to be able to access your OneDrive through your files inside the team itself as well, but I'm not seeing that. Maybe it's under the cloud storage. Let me look for that real quick. Well, it's not showing it here. Guys, I apologize. This worked the last time. I was able to upload and it just showed me OneDrive and then it just worked beautifully. But for today, it's just simply not working. So, yeah, does it work for you?
No, this is Valerie. I wanted to mention that there are things that work for me, but then when I try to do it inside of a video conferencing platform like Zoom, it doesn't work anymore. And I think there might be limitations once you're inside of the presentation platform. So that might be what's causing you trouble today.
Okay, but it's given me some grief today. Last time it didn't give me so much difficulty, but I was on 2 different systems, so maybe that's what happened. Anyway, but the general idea is that if you do have something in OneDrive that you want to share with your team, you can upload it from OneDrive and you can upload it into your team. It's just not allowing me to select that today, but it is possible. I did it last time during the video and it, like I said, it wasn't any problem, but today it's just giving me difficulty. But under files, I'm able to access it here from that cloud storage. So this is inside my OneDrive area. So anyway, well, that's all I have, folks. If you guys have questions, I'm glad to take them. I'm glad to stay on and hang on for a little while and answer as many questions as possible. Like I said, I may not know all of the answers, but I will be glad to look up what I don't know and try to help you get through it. So.
Thank you, Miss Teresa.
You're so welcome.
This was wonderful. Does anyone have any questions for her? Let's give her a hand clap. Do your reaction button, emoji. That was wonderful. I've learned a lot. And we appreciate the time and the steps that you have shown us about Teams. Now, this session will be has been recorded, and our co-coordinator of the professional development, Ms. Jennifer Lewis, will load it on the NAIOP website under the Higher Education Council page. So you will go to NAIOP and then naop.org and then click on resources. Then you click on Higher Education Council, and then you would click on professional development. And from there, you see a listing, not only with the recordings, but a listing of the remaining sessions that we will be holding on the first Friday. And so please take a moment to view it. Ms. Teresa, loves and kisses and kudos and everything to you. We appreciate that. And I had to make a correction. It was Valerie, was it Valerie Craig, Jennifer, that recruited her? Yeah, along with Jennifer Help, it was Valerie. So we thank you, Miss Valerie. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll say my pleasure. I'm glad to show off Teresa to everyone. She's a great employee, and I'm glad to share her skills.
Gonna get red here in a minute. Thank you.
And someone asked about if I could give that website again. Ms. Jennifer is typing that information in the chat, but it's naop.org, and you would click on resources, then Higher Education Council, and then professional development. There you go. So it's in the chat if you could see. And also, Ms. Teresa, you gave us contact information, if that's okay, to share. If we need to get in contact with you, would that be all right?
Absolutely. I know a lot of times it's so much information all at once, and it's too much to go through and take in, and there's little nuances that don't work exactly right when you're presenting in software. But if you guys have questions, please feel free to contact me. So I'll be glad to help.
And your contact information again, please?
Yes, teresa.scardino@usm.edu. I'll type that into the chat. I married Italian, I apologize.
Lots of pasta. Well, we enjoyed you today, and we thank you so much. And I want to thank our participants for participating. You all, thank you so much. We had over 21 members that joined, so that's great. So thank you so much for your time. I know you all are busy, but this is to help us to grow and help us to connect to one another and see one another, see the face that goes with the name. And I thank you so much. I thank Higher Education, Professional Development, and the rest of the committees and members. And are we all members of NAIOP and Higher Ed? No?
Not everyone is a member.
Okay, well, we're recruiting. We're recruiting. I think Martha Wilson is up here. She's our co-coordinator for membership and recruiting. And Martha, would you like to share your email address? She's probably in a meeting. Let me see if I can get this. Just one moment. Just one moment, please. Okay, her email address is mmwilson@nsu.edu. So if you're interested in becoming a NAIOP member, there she goes. There she is, it's in the chat. Okay, Jennifer, but thank you.
Is that correct,
So
M.M. Wilson?
That is M.M. Wilson, that's great.
I'm
Thank you,
sorry
Jennifer.
about that. I'm having difficulties here. I'm working from home.
Oh, no
And
problem.
can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Tammy is correct. My email address is mmwilson@nsu.edu. And I would be happy. I am in the midst of the draft letter, and I hope to get it to anyone. So anyone who wants to come aboard, please shoot me an email and I will definitely respond.
All right. Is there anything else? Jennifer?
If there's no
Teresa?
questions in the chat.
No questions? All right. Well, you all have a beautiful weekend. And remember, we're taking small steps so we can become greater and receive larger achievements. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing you all at our third meeting, tentatively scheduled for May. Let me give you the date. Should have had that in.
And everyone, Google Drive will be full
May
on
the
the 2nd of 20th.
April.
Sorry, Tammy, I was gonna let them know Google Drive is on the 2nd of April. Excel will be on the 7th of May, and Coping with Stress will be on the 4th of June. All that information is on the website that was linked previously. That's a Google website.
Yes, and that's on the professional development website. Thank you. Thanks, Jennifer. And our next meeting, our third meeting will be Thursday, May the 20th. And the same time, we're trying to keep everything the same time. All right. You all be blessed, and thank you so much. Thank you again, Teresa.
Thanks for having me. I
All right.
appreciate it. Bye.
Yeah, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Love that porch, Melissa.
You need to find that address, Melissa. Party.
It's beautiful.
Porch party.
Bye, Kimberly. This was great. This was really, really great.
Yeah, it was very, very helpful.
You have the attendance listing, right?
Yeah, I got to go in and get the report. I'll send it to you in a second.
Okay, you fine. You fine. I just wanted to make sure, that's all.
Okay, you're good.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your help. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna try to get Valerie to log back in. Somebody had problems logging in, so I've
Oh,
changed
really?
the setting.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
good.
security setting I changed. So I'm gonna see if Valerie can test it in a second. So I'll test that, and then that'll be it. I'm gonna go ahead and end the thing since it's just us four, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Three.
See you
Bye.
later. Go do what you're supposed to do. Go do what you're supposed to do.
You know me.